Hi people, good morning. Sorry for the delay. There was some issue with the Wi-Fi connection. Finally, अब start हो गया है. So let me just talk about cycling. I have just finished 1.5 hour session of my cycling interval, which I did today morning. So 5 o'clock to 6:30, I finished my cycling now, and I'll be doing the session for 1 hour. Good part about cycling is you don't have to get out of the house. घर में बैठो, finish your workout for the entire day whenever you want to. You don't even have to wear this. I just wore this for y'all, and so I was without my jersey. You have your privacy to train at home, especially in such a situation of a lockdown where you really can't run outside much. I'm happy to be having a cycle in the house, a trainer in the house, and it's easier for me to keep fit than a runner who will not really get the joy of running on the roads or in the garden. CrossFit ke liye you can climb upstairs or do other stuff, but then yeah, you will miss your running. For me, I'm not really missing cycling because I am doing my indoor workouts. So first of all, like I'm talking to you all right now, 99% or maybe 90% of you all will be pure runners and who are getting into cycling or want to do cycling as a cross training sport. Few of you I know cycle as well. Many of you all have got cycles, decent cycles which can actually go the distances. So this will be a basic description about cycling 101. Everything to do about learning about cycling. How do you choose a cycle, because most of you all don't have a cycle. If you all are interested in getting a cycle, then how to choose a cycle, what you are looking to in a cycle, and everything that I can impart in this 1 hour. Okay, first of all, cycling. There are many different kinds of cycles available in the market. The main important types of cycles are, first is an MTB, mountain terrain bike. Second is a hybrid cycle, and the third is a road cycle. Now, if you all know what an MTB is, it has got huge tires, and they are meant to be used off-road. Okay, you can use them on the road as well. But they are specifically made for off-road. Reason being, they are very fat tires. You can abuse them the way you want. Punctures कम होता है सबसे ज़्यादा उसमें compared to a road cycle or a hybrid cycle. That's the first criteria for being an MTB. The tires are really huge. The reason you have huge tires are also because of shock absorption. You get a lot of shock absorption from the bad roads or the rocks or the mountain trails that you're going for using an MTB tire. Now, tires for the usage of tires, those kind of thick tires, you have to make your rims as such, and then you have to make your body also as such. So it goes from tire, wheel, and then your cycle. Then the second middle way of cycling is a hybrid cycle. In hybrid cycle, what happens is your tires are slightly thinner than an MTB. They do not have that much grip like an MTB has. They can be used off-roading as well, but mostly you use them on the road or bad roads. You can use them on little bit of bad patches as well with no issues of getting punctures. And the third type of cycle that we know most commonly used is the road bike or a road cycle. The road cycle has the smallest of tire. They are very prone to punctures. You cannot use them off-road at all. They are not meant for off-road. They are meant only for the roads because of their small diameter, the small width of your tires. There is very little resistance, frictional resistance from the surface, so the speeds are higher. So when it comes to comfort, the MTB is the most comfortable, the hybrid is less comfortable, and the road tire is the least comfortable. But when it comes to speeds, it's the opposite. Your road tires are the fastest because there's only so much of your part touching the ground at all time. A hybrid is a little bit thicker tire, and an MTB is a huge tire. So depends on what kind of cycling you want to do, is what type of the type of tire that you need to buy, and again the type of cycle that you want. You need a road cycle, you need a hybrid cycle, or you need a MTB cycle. Now, when it comes to training as a cyclist, everyone would want speed. So we enjoy getting a road bike with a road tire. Somebody who wants to do cross training will go for a hybrid, I would say, where if you want to go long distances, you can even go long distances. If you want to go a little bit of off-roading, fine. If you want a good workout, a hybrid tire is also going to cause you that much of stress on your muscles, the more stress on your muscles compared to your road cycle, because it's a little bit tougher to ride. And then if you if you want to do cross training, I would prefer a hybrid or a MTB. Why MTB? Because you can take it anywhere you want, or even if you don't want to take it off-road and go on the roads with an MTB, the size of the tire makes it very difficult to get speeds, and you're putting in maximum effort when you're using an MTB cycle. So if you want to do only some kind of cross training, go for an MTB. If you want to do recovery, go for an MTB. If you want to do some cross training, some recovery, and some good amount of cycling as well, go for a hybrid. But if you are really wanting to enjoy the roads, the freedom of what it gives you, a road cycle, then you will definitely need a road cycle. But then again, you need to be getting good roads, good highways where you can cycle. Most of the times nowadays, what is happening is there's a lot of accidents that happen on the highways. So most of us have stopped cycling on the roads and on the highways. It's very risky. If it's a group ride, yes, we still do go out on our road cycles. But yeah, there should be a group who is taking care of you, looking out for each other. In that case, a road cycle is fun. I personally prefer a road cycle over a hybrid or an MTB. It gives me a lot of freedom. I go see lots of places in the world. You can do a major amount of distance in a particular time. You can reach speeds of 30-35 kph, and in 3 ghante mein you can finish around 100 kilometers. On an MTB, you would finish maximum say 60 or 70 kilometers if you are an average cyclist, because the speeds are really low. You are going to get only around 15 to 20 kph if you are an average cyclist. If you are good, then even MTB is not going to be a deterrent to speeds. There are people who can ride an MTB also at 30 kph. But again, it's a lot of effort compared to a road cycle, is what I'm trying to explain. Okay, so these are the 3 most common types of cycles that are available for use in the market. उसके बाद आता है foldies. Foldies are meant for only city rides. मतलब your office is 2 kilometers away, 3 kilometers away, foldie ले लिया, चले गए. Lock your foldie, fold your foldie, take it to your workplace, put it under your desk. So that's the main use of a foldie. But coming to leisure cycling, it's either road bike, cross training, या recovery rides you can do on a hybrid. Or if you want super strength and you want to really improve as a cyclist, the strength and energy in your muscles, then you go for a road bike, go for an MTB where you can get a maximum workout in the shortest duration of time. Among the 3 important types of cycles. So you have to decide what do you want in a cycle. It's your choice, whatever you take, depending on what your requirements as a cyclist. Okay, so this is about the 3 types of cycles. Now let's go to the individual components. The most important part of a cycle is the wheel. If your wheel is not free moving, it's going to be causing a lot of issues and you're going to be really struggling to ride. So this is basically how a wheel is. This is the behind wheel of my TT bike, which I use for the Ironmans. And this is one of the most costliest wheels you can find in the market. Let me not get into cost, but yeah, the amount of money that you spend on the wheels is directly proportional to the speed that you get and the stability that you get. So first of all is the cost component of your wheels. Even at my place right now, I have 2 cycles with me. One is my TT bike, which I use for my Ironmans, and this is another bike which is Manish's, and Both are road bikes, both have very thin tires which are meant for road riding. The one difference you can see is the rolling resistance of the wheels. If you do this and if you do this, the wheel which I am using will go for a longer distance without stopping due to friction, but this wheel will stop pretty fast. You can see it is almost stopped, whereas this is still going the distance. So basically, first thing is the quality of the components in your wheel, and secondly is the maintenance. So obviously the wheels which is on my cycle are costlier, so they have got very high precision ball bearings inside. This is a ball bearing which is used in your wheels. Okay, any wheel, whatever the quality or the type you have, will have such ball bearings. There are two or four ball bearings in each wheel. The front wheel will have 2 ball bearings, and the rear wheel will have 3 to 4 ball bearings. So the first important thing to know is that these ball bearings have obviously bearings inside, and there is grease. When it comes to grease, the grease can easily wash away because of soap. So when you're washing your cycle, wash your entire cycle with soap, but never will you put soap solution near the ball bearings. There will be no soap solution that goes into the ball bearings. It is just going to be the grease which is inside your bearings. And after prolonged usage of time, dust goes into the grease and becomes hard and mucky. So you have to periodically even get it serviced, remove the bad grease from inside, put in new grease once a year, so your wheels can be serviced, and it should work fine depending on how many kilometers you use. So let me go first to a cycle that is here right now. This is a typical road cycle which I have. I'll just fix the phone. So this is your typical road cycle where you have your brake calipers and in the front and brake calipers at the back. So whenever you are planning to buy a cycle, first of all, I would always suggest to get a caliper brake system. Never get a V brake system, which are really bad and difficult to maintain. They always keep rubbing against your wheel, and it's not fun to ride using a V brake system. So these are caliper brakes. These are good. The quality of these brakes differ from the quality of the brakes in my cycle, but again the mechanism is the same thing. It's a caliper brake system. So caliper brake system is something that's recommended in all cycles. Nowadays most of your road bikes come with a carbon fork. So this material is carbon, which helps in absorbing all the vibrations that will be caused by having such a small tire. So this is a carbon fork, whereas the entire cycle is aluminum based. This cycle has two gears in the front. One is the big one and the other one is the smaller one, which you cannot see here at the moment, whereas behind it has got 8 gears. The one in my cycle, that has got 2 in the front and it has got 11 speed behind, 2 into 11, while this cycle is 2 into 8. So when it comes to cycling, the number of gears really doesn't matter that much. You can get slight more speed on this cycle compared to that cycle if you are having the power to generate. It is all about calculations. The top gear on that is around 15 feet, and the front gear is around 50t. So similarly here you have a smaller cassette at the back which will give you a faster speed. It doesn't really matter whether you're having a 8-speed system or a 11-speed system, as long as it is a gear system. I always recommend that you should have a gear system because you can actually change the gears as per requirement on whether you're climbing up a hill or whether you're going on flats. A gear is the minimum requirement in buying a cycle, whether you're having a road bike or an MTB or a hybrid. See to it that you have a gear cycle. Never stress your needs by using a non-gear bike. Okay, so most of the components are to be seen. What we would like to stress about cycles is your size. It is really very important to have the perfect size of your cycle. Don't go in a haste and don't buy a cycle just because it looks nice or the color is great. You need to really see that the cycle is your size. This cycle is a bit small for me, but I can manage it because in a small cycle you can extend the seat height up or you can take the handle in the front. But if you buy a big cycle by mistake, there is no way you can shorten the cycle and you will have issues with your neck, with your knees. So always remember to buy a perfect size cycle or something that is a little smaller, which will be still okay for you. When it comes to cycling, a seat is important in a way that you should get a perfect seat for yourself. When I started cycling many years ago, I used to have severe pain, and then I went to Pune and I did my sit bone measurement, where the sit bones are the bones which sit on your cycle in your buttocks. Uska measurement leke the seat was made properly for me, and that's when my saddle pain went away. So if you're riding small distances around 30-40 kilometers, it really doesn't matter. Once you start going to distances of like say 100 on a road bike, a 3-hour ride or a 2-hour ride on a road bike, then it starts to hurt, and that's when you need to have a good seat. I have seen many people putting gel seat covers on your bike. I don't recommend. Many cyclists will not recommend. Never buy those gel seat covers from Decathlon or any other shops. They are not meant for your cycle. Your cycle seat has to be pretty firm. That helps in keeping stability on your sit bone muscles, on your sit bone and the muscles. And you should be wearing shorts. These are padded shorts. They have a huge padding inside them. So the padding will be on your shorts and not on your seat. Depending on the type of riding you do, there are different thickness of shorts, cushioning or gel cushioning that is available. So always buy padded shorts and not a padded seat cover. What else can I tell you about the bike? The tires. We'll get back to tires later, about tire and maintenance and changing of tubes, etc. So I have been training mostly indoors for the past 6 to 8 months since I bought my trainer, and it's been a wonderful experience. I don't really have to go out on the roads and risk myself, because usually I'm alone in this part of town, Mira Bhayandar mein. Mostly cyclists are not available. So rather than going alone and risking myself, I'd rather sit home and train. So in that case, this is what is a very good option. This is a home trainer. This home trainer is a most basic one available at Decathlon. Obviously this is the older one right now. The newer one is the InRide 100, which cost 7,000 rupees at Decathlon. Right now it is completely out of stock because everyone has just taken it before the lockdown happened, and there are absolutely no trainers available in Decathlon anywhere in the market right now. So this is one of the most basic trainers that you can use for cycling. This is a stand. Your behind wheel fits onto your stand over here from both sides, and there is a magnetic resistance over here at the back. This is a roller system. Your wheel fixes onto this, and this, as your wheel rolls, even that rolls around, and there's a magnetic resistance created by the motor which produces resistance, and it gives you a feel of road cycling. This is completely manual and there is no electricity involved in this trainer. Whereas on the other hand, this is my trainer which I use for my training. This is my TT bike which I'm using for my Ironman, and like you can see, there is no wheel at the back. The wheel is removed and kept outside, and this trainer itself has a system. Gear system is for the trainer, and this is electricity based. I need a power connection to use this trainer at all times, and this produces electronic resistance. Also, this is a smart trainer. So what happens is I connect this to my TV via Bluetooth, and I just sit in front of the TV and I can do a 1 hour, 2 hour ride, and everything is integrated into the trainer with your software. So imagine I am sitting in my house and Kiran is at his house and Manish is at his house. We can ride together indoors. We can see each other, obviously virtually, and ride together. So right now this app is called Zwift, and basically that's my avatar. It's not really me, it's a virtual reality thing. We are currently in London, and I'll just show you how it works. So that's me connected to the trainer, and so my heart rate as well as my power is sent from the trainer to the app itself, and I am cycling. It's a very immersive app where you don't have to get bored. There are races that you can do. So it's fun. The most important that people are worried about is getting bored while training indoors, but this is super fun. The wheel is still on, so I'm still cycling a bit. Let me just stop it. So yeah, this is the indoor trainer app called Zwift. Oh, by the way, let me just tell you that this app doesn't need a very high-tech trainer for cycling. Even your normal Decathlon ka trainer, which costs 7,000 rupees, can be connected to this app. All you need is a sensor. It will cost somewhere around 500 to 1,000 bucks. This sensor you have to attach to the rear wheel via Bluetooth. It's a Bluetooth sensor. You attach it to the rear wheel along with the speed and cadence. That data is sent to your laptop or your TV via Bluetooth, and it's a very simple connection. You really don't need to have a high-end gadget like the trainer which I have. Even the cheapest of trainer can be connected to something like Zwift, and you can have a virtual ride with your friends anywhere in the world, or you can just sit in front of your TV and watch a movie while you just spin around. So when you're just sitting in front of the TV and spinning around, what you can do is you can measure your heart rate and do intervals, or you do a zone 2 ride where you maintain a heart rate no matter what your speed is increasing up to, or slow down if your heart rate increases. Or if you want to do interval training, so you really can't do much apart from seeing your heart rate going up and down. Now, so what you can do is keep your heart rate stable at say around 140, 150, and then for 30 seconds sprint very fast so that your heart rate comes up to say 180, 175, 180. again come down. So you're doing interval based, heart rate based interval training. That's the best way you can train at home if you want to improve. So this is what I do at home. When it comes to my trainer, I do power based workouts where I am calculating the power that I'm generating from my legs, and that obviously require a smart trainer for that, which can detect power. A smart trainer comes for minimum say 25,000, or you can get a second hand for 15 to 20,000. The trainer, the smart trainer will come for that cost, and then obviously this is the highest end trainer which has many more features in it. But yeah, if you want a power based training, then it gets costlier. But if you just want leisure, and you can get a cheapest trainer from Decathlon for 7,000 bucks and ride indoors. Zwift you can use with Zwift, or you can just sit in front of the TV and keep spinning. It has really helped me training indoors. I don't really have to go out, and almost everything is fulfilled by indoor training on the cycle. Yes, running obviously I'm missing right now because I also want to get back to running and swimming. Those are the two things I'm missing. But yeah, maybe a treadmill could help with even indoor running. So let's all chip in money and get a indoor treadmill, which we all can use. Manish के birthday gift उसको दे देंगे. Okay, so this came to indoor cycling. Let me talk about a little bit of outdoor cycling as well. I am basically a cyclist who started running because I had to get into Ironmans, and obviously marathons also was in fashion. Marathon karenge. Let's see how it works out. So I started running, but basically I was a cyclist. And there is a saying that if you want to improve in something and be really good at it, it's not really true, but you need to have around 10,000 hours of practice to master something. 10,000 hours. Maybe it is 10 hours per day or 5 hours per day, but it takes that many years to practice. When it comes to cycling, I would say around 10,000 kilometers of cycling helps you become a master of it. 10,000 kilometers I have done in a year. So over a period of 2-3 years, I have cycled a lot, and I could say I'm a really good cyclist. When it comes to running, I would say cycling is 3 times easier than running. Why? Because if you cycle for 1 hour and you run for 1 hour, cycling will use only 300 calories, whereas running for 1 hour could use up to 1000 calories from your body. So running, I feel, is 3 times tougher than cycling. Hence, to compensate for the 3 times, you have to cycle 3 times more the distance, or 3 times more the hours. So if I'm running for 1 hour, I'll have to cycle for 3 hours, or I'll have to cycle 3 times the distance. Maybe I have to do 100 kilometers every weekend to get the effect of a 21 kilometer or 30 kilometer run, long run. So that's what the difference between cycling and running. Again, this is only because I'm talking about a road bike. If you're going to buy an MTB for cross training, then it doesn't be 3 times, it will be like maybe twice. Or if you're going to be really doing tough trail cycling, then you can say it is as tough as running. But yeah, when it comes to road bike, I could say it's 3 times easier than running, or you need to go 3 times the distance to get the same amount of work done as you would in a run. I have cycled a lot outdoors earlier with friends. We used to do this races, or it's not a race per se, but it's a timed distance race where you finish a given amount of kilometers in a particular time. So that's how I started my journey. I started with a 200 BRM. It's called a BRM, and it is affiliated from France, and you get your medals from France. So the first time I said I want to take up a challenge, I did a 200 BRM, and it took me 13 hours, 12 and a half hours of cycling and crying and pain and cramps. to finish my first 200-kilometer BRM. But after I finished the 200-kilometer BRM, it was like an addiction. I just couldn't stop at 200. I wanted to do more. It's not that it gets easy. Every ride that I did, I was in pain, I was crying, but I was telling myself I will never do these BRMs ever again. But as soon as the BRM gets over and you are in that high of finishing the BRM in time, then I used to think up next kaun sa karna hai and how to increase the distance from a 200 to 300. So it's more of a mental game, physical less than mental strength. You need a lot of mental strength to do a BRM or to do a long distance cycling event, maybe an ultra marathon. It's more mental than physical. The first time I cycled was just 35 kilometers and I cramped. I took a rickshaw and I came back home. Then slowly 35 kilometers became 100 and 100 became a 200. But every time it still did pain. I still got cramps, and eventually you get mentally very strong. And once you are mentally strong, that's when anything is possible. Physically, I might not be a strong runner, but mentally I know that even after finishing a 4-kilometer swim and cycling for 200 kilometers, I can easily pull off a 42 kilometers. Whether I have to walk, run or crawl, I can finish it because mentally I am strong. And cycling has given me this mental strength, because whenever you go on cycling like BRM, you are all alone. Maybe you have friends with you get a puncture, you get your own puncture. You're cycling like search for dhabas. Your gives you a lot of mental strength. It teaches you a lot, and that mental strength helps in anything you want to accomplish, from ultra marathon or an Ironman or anything you want to or you desire. Why I'm saying ultra distances is because you are alone sometimes, and that's when your mind starts to tell you this is not what you're supposed to do. Quit. And that's if you overcome that. If you overcome that part where your mind is telling you to quit, that's when you get into mental toughness. And in running, you really don't come into that situation where your mind is telling you to quit, because the distances are less. You're running close by to your place, and you can anyway stop and take a rickshaw, come back home if you're starting to cramp. When it comes to smaller runs like a 10 kilometer, 20 kilometers, you are close by, you are safe, you can take a rickshaw and abort and come anytime home and abort. But when it comes to cycling, you can't do that. Once you go a distance, you have to somehow come back. You have to face the nature, you have to face your struggles and do that. The same comes for ultra running. When it comes to ultra running, when you're doing around 10 hours of running, 12 hours of running, that's when you really start to see the part of you which is telling you to quit. And once you overcome that, you start to become mentally tougher, and you can achieve things which you thought were not possible earlier. So, I am an outdoor cyclist as such. I hated indoor cycling. I would any day love to go cycling outside, and every year I do something or the other which involves a lot of ultra distance cycling. Like earlier I used to do a 1,000-kilometer BRM once every year, which takes around 75 hours of cycling. That is 3 days and 3 hours of non-stop cycling. I sleep for around 5 hours in total of those 3 days. 2 hours per day. 3 hours per day depending on how the conditions are. So yes, physical strength and mental strength is really important, and it really trains you to be mentally strong doing BRMs. I know many of you all are interested in doing BRMs. I spoke to Manoj last time and he was interested in doing a BRM starting with the 200. Let me know. I can always help you all with getting into long distance cycling if that is what you all want to do, and not just cross training. If you all want to do cross training, then avoid long distance cycling. If you all want to be only runners and want to do cross training, then avoid long distance cycling because it takes a lot of time, and obviously it is addictive more than running, so you might just end up not being a runner and being a cyclist like me. So beware about that. Last year I did the Deccan Cliffhanger Ultra cycling event. It is a 643 kilometers, which is 400 miles, non-stop event, and I finished it in 32 hours. So this was a race, and you have your crew vehicle with you, supporting you, feeding you. You really don't have to stop. You have to be non-stop on the bike for those 32 hours, and it's really tough compared to a BRM. BRMs are of distances like 200, 300, 400, 600, 1000 kilometers. In these, you can stop whenever you want. There's nobody pushing you. There's nobody who's going to finish before you. So it is all more mental game. You have to just finish it within the cut-off time. It is difficult, yes, but when it comes to a cycling race like a Deccan Cliffhanger, then it's a different ball game altogether. You need to be really strong mentally and also physically. You can't afford to lose time. You have to be constantly pedaling all the time, and that's where it is really something. It was a new experience that I had last year, and again this year also I will be doing the Deccan Cliffhanger, which is Pune to Goa race on your cycle. Looking forward to that race. It is in November, so basically I will possibly have permissions. I mean, the roads and all will be open, and maybe the race will happen. There was an Ironman race in August which I was supposed to be doing, but that's cancelled because of Corona. So that race is postponed to next year, like many other races. So right now I'm just looking forward to the Deccan Cliffhanger cycling race, which will be happening in the end of November, and I'm training for that. Since I have my indoor trainer at home with me, I am really not bothered about the training. My training is going well, and I can do much better at this next edition of the race. Coming back to cycling, there are many things that you can learn in cycling. Is how to change your tire when you get a puncture on your roads. So basically what is it is your tire has a tube inside. Okay, this is the tube that is used inside your tire, and this tube is inflated with air, and it is fitting it, and this tube fits between your rim and your tire. It is inside. Now what happens is there can be something that can puncture your tire and puncture your tube. In that case, you will get a flat or a puncture. So what we have is a Kevlar liner. This is made out of Kevlar, which is obviously bulletproof material. It is used for your bulletproof vest and all. This is the same material called Kevlar. This forms a layer between your tube and your tire inside. So whenever something punctures through, this liner will protect your tube from getting punctured. It will not let anything pass through to your tube. So when you are doing road cycling on a road bike, which Manish and I have, then you have a tube which is so small, you have a tire which is so small, and also then you need to be thinking of using such kind of liners inside to protect your tire. The tire will get punctured, but your tube inside will not get punctured. The pin or whatever it is will be on the outside itself. It will not damage your tube, which is on the inside. So this is something that I always have, the Kevlar liner I always have inside my tire when I'm going for my outdoor cycling. Also, you carry a pump when it comes to outdoor cycling. This is a handy portable pump. It takes quite a lot of effort to fill an entire tube using this pump, but yeah, when you're going outdoors, this comes really handy. This is a indoor pump which you can fill air faster indoors. And now the latest technology that we have is carbon dioxide. These are called CO2 cartridges. There is compressed carbon dioxide in this cartridge. It's a very small cartridge which you can put in your back pocket when you're cycling outside, and no need to carry a pump with you. So you can carry 2-3 cartridges with you, assuming that you're not going to get more than 2 or 3 punctures. And there is a valve. You fit this into your, you fit the valve into your cartridge, and you fill your, you put your tire tube inside your tire, and you fill air using this. This is a one-time use. Once you finish with one cartridge, you have to just discard of it, recycle the cartridge. There's nothing. It's a one-time use activity. So this is what we are using nowadays, especially during races as well. When I'm doing an Ironman race, I'm not going to be carrying an extra weight of a pump. I will be always using a cartridge. This cartridge will last me for one puncture. As soon as I get a puncture, I will remove the tire, put a new tube inside. So put the tire back on the tube, and I will immediately within 1 second fill this. As soon as you fix it to your tire and you turn the knob, within 1 second the entire tube inflates with carbon dioxide, and you can fill your tire immediately and not waste time pumping air into your tire or carrying the weight of your pump additionally with you. So this is one thing that I always carry in my and that's it, and I hope that I don't get punctures. So when it comes to maintenance, let me show you how to remove a tire. It's very simple. These are the tubes which I use. Okay, these are very long tubes because my cycle wheel is pretty long. The rim is deep, so I need longer tubes. If your cycle rim is smaller, then you can obviously use even shorter ones, which you need to decide what you want to buy. You turn the valve, remove all the air from the tube. It's a very simple process once you learn this. So there was a BRM which I did 1,000 kilometers where I had around 10 punctures in all. Over the period of 3 days, I was cycling in Gujarat and the roads were not really good. I had 10 punctures, and within 2 minutes or 3 minutes, I was able to change the tire and put a new tire tube inside, fill air again, maybe max 5 minutes. So you get used to it. It's not really tough. You have these sticks with you. You put your stick here and turn it upside down. Your tire comes out. From the place, and you have to just roll your hand over the tire, and your entire tire comes out from one side. The other side, the tire is still in. It's okay. We go back to the side which is open, pull your tube out, and your tube is out. Similarly, take your new tube, push it back into the tire, okay, and you put the tube back in. It's again a 2-minute job. Put the entire tube back in and push your tire in. So some tires are easier to remove and some tires are very tough. Depends on what kind of tire you have. This is a foldable tire that I have, so it's very simple to remove it and put it back. The cheaper ones are not foldable, so it takes a lot of effort to remove or to put it back, but the principle is the same. You put the tire back in and you start pumping air back, and you're good to go on your cycle again. So this is about tire repairing and tube maintenance if you get a puncture ever. This is another thing I always carry with me. It's a toolkit. It has got all the spanners you need to repair your cycle on the road for any situation that arises. It's a small thing that goes into my pocket. So yeah, a toolkit and a cartridge, CO2 cartridge is always there when I'm going outside on a cycle ride. Obviously in the house I don't need any of that because indoor trainer hai, do whatever you want. And when it comes to maintaining your cycle, there's one more thing I wanted to tell you all is soaping your cycle. Whenever you're washing your cycle, you can use soap all over your cycle except for the hubs. The ones in the side, the center of the wheel, the cylinder is called your hub. Never use soap on your hub because it will remove out all your grease which is inside the hub and keeping your cycle in good condition. Never use soap there. And the behind hub. So even behind there is a hub. You never use soap here, which might remove out all the grease. See, now this grease is really bad because of the mud deposit which has happened along with it. This needs to be changed. But yeah, as long as there is grease, it is in a good condition and it is rideable. So these are the two places, and also in the front over here, in the center where your crank is. Over here inside you have grease. Never use soap inside, and it will simply remove out all your grease, which is not required, which is not acceptable for your cycle. Anywhere else on your cycle maintenance, you can obviously use soap and clean your cycle with soap. Your chain as well has a lot of oil and grease on it, so this is not in a good condition right now, but I can show you the other one. This is in perfect condition, there is no much grease on it, so this is in a good condition. Whereas you can use soap to remove out the dirty grease from your chain, or you can use a degreaser. This is a spray. I just spray it out, and the entire dirty grease with the mud falls off. Once you finish degreasing it and drying your cycle, you need to put lubricating oil on your chain. That's the most important one. There is one which is called a wet lube. This is used for rainy seasons, and one which is called a dry lube, which you can use for dry seasons. Okay, the wet lube is used in rainy season because it sticks to your chain longer and it doesn't really come out with with the rainwater, and that's one major difference between the wet lube and dry lube. So this is basically what I have been trying to tell you about cycling, indoor, outdoor, and my journey about the Ironman and the Deccan Cliffhanger race, which I have been doing. I can Okay, so anyone wanting to ask any questions? There's another 10 minutes more which I can use and answer any of your queries, or you could just ping me later and I could help you out with them. Okay, so Manoj is here, Mary is here, and Manish, Ambika, and Queenie. Hi guys. I was expecting more cyclists from S2B to be joining the session in the morning. That's what I was told. Anyways, I can see Mary and Manoj. Hi Manoj. How is it coming with your BRM ka training and plans to do a BRM? Let me know. Hi Tina. Tina is here. Tina was here. I'm not sure. Anybody else wanting some? This is the first time I'm doing a FB live session, so yeah, I really don't know how do you conduct a session, but yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope I was helpful to anyone who wanted to get any information. I couldn't see your name earlier, Tina. Pata nahi. Okay, I think it's almost 7:30 right now, and we can just wind this session. Since there are very few people here, we can obviously connect on WhatsApp, and if there's anything that you want to know, just ping me. I can help you out. Cheers, guys. Happy training.